Hello everyone, Sheila back again. Welcome to my channel. It's another horrible, dark, miserable day. It was a little bit brighter, and as soon as I started this video, it suddenly got darker. So the video was got darker. I'm going to have to put my light on, so I'll have to put the knitting down. That's better. You know, it's been horrible, dark, miserable all day. And we are forecast for rain tonight, heavy rain. And you know it's going to be when I am driving up to pick my friend up for the bingo. According to the app, the time on my phone. But anyway, I'm sitting. I normally do this of a night time, but I'm not going to be here tonight. I've been doing some this afternoon. And you can see I'm nearly finished the first sleeve. I think I've got about, I just measured it, it measures 17 inches. I have to do it to its 19 inches. So I've got a couple more inches to go, but I'm just knitting until I've only got that little bit wool left on there. I'm going to have to wind some more wool off. It's a big ball. I'm just winding some off as much as the cone will let me for the other sleeve. So I'm just knitting till that's gone, and then leave the rest till tomorrow. But I'll be picking my friend up for bingo. But the other lady, Molly, that I usually pick up, she messaged me this morning, and you probably all remember when I first met Molly, it was with her sister Anne. The two of them used to come to the bingo and sat at the table next to ours. Won't be tied any one of the sat on our tables. But we had Molly missed for quite a while when she broke her hip, then broke her leg. But Anne stopped coming as well, and we didn't realise what was wrong with her at first, until we started asking questions and were told that she actually had cancer, and it was starting to take its toll on her. Well, Molly messaged me this morning to say that not to pick her up tonight because her sister Anne had died last night, and she was too upset anyway. She was near to tears when she was talking on the phone to me, and I felt so sorry for all the problems she's had lately, and then she lost her husband a few weeks ago. To go through all that, now she's lost her sister as well. But anyway, she's asked me to tell everyone at the club what's happened, and because everyone knew Anne as well, because Anne had been coming for a long time, the same as Molly, to the club. But anyway, that's where I'll be going off to tonight, and why I'm sitting knitting this afternoon instead of tonight. But, it has been a rotten, miserable day, but it is still quite mild. And while I came downstairs, I'm just wearing a dress, but you can see it's got no sleeves or anything in. And I started knitting with this afternoon, and I realised the long part was resting on my arms, and it was making my arms itch, and it took me a little while to realise it's the wool and the thing. So this was just downstairs. It's an old blouse, actually, an old shirt. I was sorting clothes out. I'll put that knitting down a minute. Take my gloves off while I'm doing this. But I've been sorting a few things out to put in one of those charity bags, and this was one of the things. I love this shirt, but it fit me 2 years ago, but as you can see, it barely meets now. And it was in the the charity bag, so I just got that out of the charity bag and put it on so that the wool wasn't resting on my bare arm and that, like. I was okay with having a dress on. The rest of it was lying on my knee on top of the dress. But it took me a little while to realise why my arm was itchy, because it was resting on my arm when I was knitting and that, and my arm was kept itching. I was scratching, and I suddenly realised it was the wool on my bare arm. But anyway, I've been doing a few things. I've started another set of bowls. This one's for, I'll have to see which lady it's for, because I've got quite a few things in my book. This is for Katie. She asked me to do a set for herself and a set for her mum, and she said that her mum likes purple or plum colours. I have some purple, and I have it's a very light dusty pink, it looks like a plum colour. I could mix that with the purple and the white. And she asked for herself, she said either orange or pinks. So I thought the pink was the best, so I've done two. I'll leave that book there in case I have to tell you somebody else's name. I put the names down in my book, who the things are for, because I would never remember all the names. So I've done the smallest one, and the larger one, the middle size one. So I've got two of those done, which I'll do another start on the big one tomorrow morning. And yesterday I was writing out another knitting pattern, but this is for baby blankets, and I will do a little bit knitting this one while I'm talking. That little bit out of there and get that wire off there, put that in there. Oh, I've got some pins stuck in this. Yes, I'm going to make you laugh when I tell you why I've got those stuck in there. I'll just leave them in for now while I'm sitting knitting. But I was knitting, doing a knitting pattern, writing out a knitting pattern yesterday for two baby blankets that I have. And I've had these blankets done. I kept forgetting about them actually, and I just had jotted the notes down for both blankets. One is the garter rib, garter edge and garter rib, something like that. I think I've got it written down here somewhere where it is. The garter ridge and rib baby blanket, and the other one was a 2x4 basket stitch, which is the same pattern as what I'm knitting here. So I started writing the pattern, before I started writing the pattern out, I had just jotted down in a notebook. I have a big ledger here. This is my big ledger, what I put all my patterns in. Usually as I'm knitting them, I write the instructions down as I'm knitting. But for some reason, when I was doing these blankets, I just jotted them down in one of my notebooks, the smaller notebooks I have. And I was hunting and hunting for those notes yesterday to thought I'd start writing out the knitting pattern for those two baby blankets. And could I find them? I went through every single, I must have about 5 notebooks with all different things in that. When I first started writing my knitting patterns, I was just writing them in different notebooks. I was writing one notebook for small things, another notebook for larger children's things, another notebook for adult things, another notebook for things like hats and that. And I stopped doing that, and I started putting them in that big ledger I've just shown you instead, so they're all together in one place. Only I don't know why, but for some reason I wrote them in the notebooks. And could I find those notes? I went through everyone. Then I remembered the other day I was tearing pages out where I thought were finished with, I've been writing things on and just adding things up, this, that and the other, and I don't need those pages, so I was tearing them out and putting them in the recycle thing and that. And then I realised I must have tore that page out with the, because it was just on one side of the page, because there's not a lot of rows to a baby blanket. And I think I wrote both of them on one page, and I must have tore it out and threw it away. And I could have kicked myself. And I was trying to remember, especially the one with this pattern on, the 2x4. So that's why I have the pin. I'll have to take them out, but I'll just leave them in to explain to you why they're stuck in here. I have a pin at one side and a stitch mark, and that's right across one row. So I pinned where the row started, right, and I counted the number of stitches that the baby blanket would be. The baby blanket would be thicker because I used 2 strands of double knitting, and I just put them together so they were on the same row, and we're trying to work out what stitches I started with, and that because on the pattern I knit the first 6 rows with garter stitch, and then I was starting the pattern, but I do the sides as well. I do 4 garter stitches on each end for the sides of the blanket as well, to stop it curling in. And I worked out how many stitches, so I counted them out, and then I put the pin in one and the stitch marker in the other end, and I was trying to work out what stitches I start with. Well, with these, you have some rows you start with knit 2, purl 2 for 4 rows, and then the next 4 rows it's purl 2, knit 2, and I could not work it out what to write it down, because one row you would start with knit 4 for the edge, and then it would be purl 2, knit 2 till you got to the other end, and then it would be purl 2, knit 4. But on some rows, you were starting that row with knit 2, so there would be the 4 rows of the pattern up the side, and 2 more stitches of knitting. So you would start with knit 6 and then do the purl 2 and the knit 2 till you got to the other end. But when you got to the other end, it would be different again, because you start, so I could not work it out. Not in my head, and trying to write it down. I've got graph paper and I was writing the stitches where it should be knit, and I just could not get them to work out. The only thing I could do was to knit it. So that's what I did. I'm showing you. I have 2 baby blankets started that they're going to be put to one side, where I only started enough to do the rows for to work out the pattern. So this was the one I was just telling you about. This is the knit 2. So as you see, there's the four knit stitches, the 4 garter stitches. So that row would have been knit 4 and then purl 4, knit 2 for 4 rows. But when you started the next row, you'd have 4 stitches garter stitch, and the next 2 stitches are knit stitches. So you would see knit 6 instead of knit 4, and then go on to the purl 2, knit 2, and so on at the other end. You have to work things out on the other end. So that was the only way I could work it out, was to actually knit it. All I have to do was to knit the border, the start, and then the first 8 rows of the pattern, because that's how many rows is to the pattern. So that's what I did with that one. So I have that. I've just wound 2 lots together on my wool winder. I've just wound the blue and the white together. So that's going to be put to one side for now, because I just wanted to work out the stitches for the pattern. I do have the pictures for the last blankets that I knit, so I have the pictures to put on the pattern as well as the instructions now. So I've wrote that one out. And then I come to the other one, and I had the same problem with that one. I even have a little swatch somewhere. Have a little swatch there. That's the pattern on that one that I did quite some time ago, because I did myself a cardigan with this pattern on probably about 3 or 4 years ago. and that was the swatch I used for to work out the pattern. But because that's only a few stitches, I needed to work it out for, I couldn't remember how many stitches I had put on, and just something in my mind told me it was 100 stitches. So that's what I did, and this is that one. I've got it in my big bag. But again, I still had to knit it to work it out properly, because you start with different stitches, with the pattern being different. Some rows were the same, I think 3 rows were the same, but I wasn't sure I was getting it right. I had to knit it first. So at least I only had to knit 4 rows with this one. So this one here, I've knit the 6 rows for the border, and this is a pale green, like a mint green and white. I'm doing this one on. And then again, you start off with 6, not 6, you start off with 4 knit, and then it's 4 purl, and then 4 knit and 4 purl. But as you can see, the last row where they are knit there, that's the garter stitch over there. That was where I had to get that sorted to work it out. So I managed to work that one out, and I only had to do the 4 rows because there's only 4 rows to that pattern. That's what I've done. So the next thing is exactly the same as what I did from there up to there for the rest of it. But like I'm saying, it was in my mind that it was 100 stitches. That was so that when you do the pattern, I started with knit 4, the border, and the actual pattern was started with purl 4 and knit 4. You come to the end, you want the same thing at the other end. So as you see at the other end, I ended with purl 4 and then the knit 4 for the border. That's why I worked out 100 stitches would bring it right. I thought 96 at first, but that would have ended up with the knit stitches. It wouldn't have been the same at both ends. So I worked that out, and after I worked that out, I was on my tablet, I think it was, looking for something that I had knitted before on my Just Knitting channel, and I found I had done a tutorial for this actual blanket. And only when I checked, I know now why 100 stitches was stuck in my mind, because on the actual tutorial I only did 96 stitches, and I ended up on starting with purl at the start. I ended up with knit, so they weren't exactly the same on both sides, and that was why that 100, I knew I had to have 100 stitches to make it match on both ends. But if I'd realised that and looked, that would have told me exactly how I would have done the pattern, not just what I started and finished with, just exactly what the pattern was. But I just didn't think, I'd forgot that I had actually done a tutorial on. So anyway, that's another blanket that'll be done sometime in the future after I finish my orders. I'm not going to do any of it. I only did those rows just to work out the pattern, so to make sure that I got the instructions correct on the pattern. So I just have to, it's all written out. I just have to make it into a PDF and then get the pictures and sort them out, and sort the pictures. I have to make the pictures into PDF as well. Convert them from just ordinary picture to PDF. I'll put that down there out the way, and that over there out the way. Take those needles out of there. So like I'm saying, that's 2 baby blankets I'll be probably putting up on my shop when I get. You know, these things come to try me. So anyway, I have just sold the last phone pouch as well. The ladies asked for that, sent me an email and asked for that. So, but I really need to get on with some of these orders for the cardigans I have before I do any more crochet for pouches and things like that, because I have quite a few orders now for cardigans and children's ones and adult ones, and as soon as I finish the green one here, I'll be on with this one to get this one finished. And this is quite a long one because the lady wants the back to measure 30 inches. Most cardigans I do measure about 24 inches, the full back length. But this lady says she likes them longer, so good job I checked, because I had forgot actually. And then I'm looking in my book and I'm saying, oh, it's 30. This lady wants quite a long cardigan, so it'll take quite a lot longer because I've got about another 6 inches to do on the length of the back. But anyway, it's my bingo night tonight, so it is now coming up to 5. I'm going to do something quick for my tea, and then I will just sit down until 7:15. That's when I go out to pick my friend up and do what bit knitting I can before I go out. And hope we are lucky this week, because we've never had any luck for weeks. It gets my friend, she keeps messaging me every, she knows what time I pick her up, but she always messages me on a Thursday, what time are you picking me up? She should know what time I pick her up, and then there's always a little message after that, I hope we're lucky this week, we've never had any luck for ages. And I says, I know, I hope we're lucky as well, but you never can tell. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Anyway, that's my bit for today. So thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you all another time. So bye for now.